We spent years with farmers, hardworking people who feed the world, rising before dawn and working long after sunset, their hands shaping the land and their hopes tied to every harvest. For decades, American corn was at the heart of that story, stretching across millions of acres and fueling not just our own nation, but economies around the globe. We grew more, shipped more, and fed more than anyone else. Our corn traveled thousands of miles, crossing oceans to reach distant markets, with China as our biggest and most reliable customer. American farmers built their lives around this steady demand, investing in cutting-edge equipment, expanding their operations, and betting their futures on the promise of global trade. But now, in July 2025, that system is unraveling. The certainty that once defined the corn market has been replaced by anxiety and confusion. Ships full of U.S. corn are being turned away from ports that once welcomed them with open arms, leaving cargo stranded and contracts broken. The business of selling American corn has become tangled in a web of politics, tariffs, and international disputes, with headlines changing by the hour. This isn't just a customer changing their mind, it's a seismic shift in the global supply chain, disrupting the flow of goods and upending long-standing relationships. When China, the world's biggest buyer, walks away, the shockwaves hit every corner of the industry, from the Midwest to the world's busiest ports. Farmers are left with unsold crops and tough questions. Where do we sell now? At what price? How do we survive another season of uncertainty? Meanwhile, Canada is stepping in, filling the void and cashing in on the opportunity as new trade deals are struck and Canadian grain flows to markets once dominated by the U.S. One country's loss is another's gain. The landscape of global agriculture is shifting and fortunes are changing hands. To understand how we got here, we need to look at the policies and politics that upended the system. Decisions made in boardrooms and government halls that ripple out to every farm. The story of American corn is no longer just about the soil. It's about a global chess game, where every move can change the fate of entire communities. And right now, the board has been flipped, leaving everyone scrambling to find their next move in a world that suddenly feels unfamiliar. Spark, a trade war. But this wasn't just another round of tough talk or empty threats. This was a full-scale economic confrontation with both sides digging in deeper than ever before. In early 2025, the U.S. slapped massive tariffs, up to 145%, on Chinese goods, aiming to protect American industries. The move was bold, sending shockwaves through global markets and signaling a new era of economic nationalism. China hit back fast, targeting American agriculture with 125% tariffs on corn, soybeans, and pork. The message was clear. If the U.S. wanted a fight, China was ready to match every move. The handshake deal was gone, replaced by a standoff. Years of careful diplomacy and fragile agreements unraveled almost overnight. Farmers remembered the last trade war's pain, but this time the fight was faster, the tariffs higher, and the stakes bigger. The uncertainty was suffocating, and the sense of déjà vu was impossible to ignore. China wasn't just negotiating, they were rewiring their supply chains to cut out the U.S. for good. Factories shifted suppliers, and new trade routes sprang up almost overnight, leaving American exporters scrambling. By mid-January, Chinese buyers stopped placing new orders for U.S. corn and soybeans. The silence from across the Pacific was deafening, and contracts that once seemed ironclad were suddenly worthless. The tap was shut off overnight, shipments ground to a halt, and the flow of American grain to China dried up in an instant. For American farmers who had already invested in seed and fertilizer, the news was devastating. Months of planning and hard work suddenly seemed pointless as markets vanished before their eyes. The political fight in Washington had landed squarely in their fields. Policy decisions made in distant offices now threatened the livelihoods of entire communities. Years of planning and trust were wiped out in a single policy move. Relationships built over decades were shattered, and the future felt more uncertain than ever. The result? A bumper crop with nowhere to go. Silos overflowed and fields filled with unsold grain as farmers watched their hard work go to waste. The trade war wasn't just a headline, it was a direct hit to the heartland. Small towns felt the shock, with local businesses and families bracing for the fallout. Farmers became pawns in a global power struggle. Their livelihoods were now bargaining chips in a high-stakes game played by politicians and diplomats. And the fallout was just beginning. As uncertainty spread, the true cost of the trade war was only starting to reveal itself, leaving everyone to wonder what would come next. Numbers tell the story, and they're more than just statistics. They're a lifeline for thousands of American families. Each data point represents a truckload of grain, a paycheck, a future plan, and a community's hope. In 2024, the U.S. exported over 27 million tons of soybeans to China, worth $12.8 billion. These exports weren't just numbers on a balance sheet, they were the backbone of American agriculture, connecting Midwest fields to dinner tables halfway around the world. That money fueled rural economies, paid mortgages, and kept farms running. It supported local businesses, schools, and the very fabric of small-town America. Now, since January 2025, new orders have flatlined, zero. The once busy ports are silent, and the flow of grain has come to a sudden, jarring stop. The pipeline to our biggest customer has dried up, leaving a void that can't be filled overnight. This isn't a dip, it's a collapse. The shockwaves are being felt far beyond the fields, rippling through the entire agricultural supply chain. Grain is piling up in the U.S. and prices are crashing, not because of bad crops but because of politics. The market is flooded, and there's nowhere for the surplus to go. In the past, even a 1 million-ton rejection caused chaos. Farmers scrambled, prices tumbled, and communities braced for impact. Now tens of millions of tons are simply gone from the market. The scale of this loss is unprecedented, and the consequences are only beginning to unfold. For farmers, that lost revenue isn't just numbers, it's college tuition, equipment repairs, and next year's seed. It's the difference between staying afloat and going under. The foundation of their business is cracking. Years of hard work and investment are suddenly at risk, and the uncertainty is growing by the day. Storing unsold grain is expensive, and every day its value drops. The longer it sits, the more farmers lose, both in money and in hope. The rules of the game have changed mid-season, and farmers are left holding the risk. They're forced to make impossible choices about their future. The financial fallout is immense. It's not just farmers, equipment dealers, truckers, and entire rural communities are feeling the strain. The global market has moved on, and American grain is stuck at home. Other countries are stepping in to fill the gap, and the U.S. is losing ground. This is more than a trade dispute, it's an economic earthquake. The after effects will be felt for years, reshaping the landscape of American agriculture, and the aftershocks are still coming, leaving farmers and rural America bracing for what's next. For farmers, this isn't about geopolitics, it's about survival. They worry about weather and fuel, not trade policy, but now tariffs are part of daily life. The American Soybean Association warns, this trade war is causing lasting damage. Years of building a reputation as reliable suppliers are being undone. Many farmers are still recovering from the last trade war, and this new blow feels like too much. They did everything right, grew a great crop, but the market vanished overnight. Months of planning, loans, and hard work are suddenly at risk. Expenses remain, but prices have collapsed. Family farms, some generations old, are facing ruin. The frustration is real, caught in a conflict they didn't start and can't control. Support programs feel like a small bandage on a deep wound. From the seat of a tractor, the future looks grim. The fields are full, but the bills are piling up. Farmers are patriotic, but they need to make a living. Right now, they're paying the price for a global fight. As American corn is shut out, Canada steps in. Canadian farmers, once secondary players, are now China's go-to source. They offer quality, proximity, and crucially, no 125% tariff. Canada's cooler climate and strict GMO regulations make their corn attractive to buyers with high standards. Billion-dollar deals are being signed, and Canadian grain elevators are busier than ever. Demand is booming, prices are up, and long-term contracts bring security. Canada is investing in infrastructure to meet this new demand. In global trade, reliability and price matter more than loyalty. Canada is seizing the moment, becoming a major supplier to the world's biggest importer. China isn't putting all its eggs in one basket. While buying Canadian corn, they're also deepening ties with Brazil, now their top soybean supplier. China's strategy: diversify, create competition, and keep prices low. This gives them leverage. They can shift orders based on price, quality, or politics. But it's not always smooth sailing. In January 2025, China suspended soy shipments from major Brazilian firms, citing contamination. The timing raised eyebrows. Was it quality control or a power move? Either way, it's a reminder. Even new partners face challenges. China is calling the shots, and everyone else is playing catch-up. China's not just looking abroad, they're looking inward. The goal: boost domestic grain production and reduce reliance on imports. In 2025, They're aiming for a record harvest, investing in technology and better yields. It's a top-down push for self-sufficiency, especially in corn and soybeans. Food security is now national security. Full self-sufficiency may be out of reach, but every ton grown at home is one less to import. China's internal drive, combined with global diversification, is reshaping agriculture. The days of China as a passive buyer are over. They're now a force shaping their own destiny. For North American farmers, the future splits in two. Canadian farmers are thriving, securing new markets and investing in growth. Their reputation for premium, non-GM corn gives them an edge. American farmers face uncertainty. The loss of China is a structural change, not a blip. Even if the trade war ends, the old market may never return. U.S. farmers must seek new buyers and consider new crops or uses for their grain. Some farms may not survive. Rural America faces a painful adjustment. The success of farming now depends on forces far beyond the field. The map of global agriculture is being redrawn, and not everyone will win. As the next planting season approaches, big questions remain. How long will the trade war last? Is there a path to a new stable relationship? If China's new suppliers stumble, could U.S. grain return? Will China's push for self-sufficiency shrink the global market for everyone? The future is unwritten, a test of resilience and adaptation. American farmers must find new customers and hope for solutions. Canadian farmers have a rare opportunity to solidify their gains. This isn't just about corn, it's about the people who grow our food and the global forces that shape their lives. The next harvest is coming, but its value and its destination are more uncertain than ever.